New Colgate Optic White Renewal removes 10 years of yellow stains. That's like all the way back to 2010.
Do the doggy!
Remove 10 years of yellow stains with new Colgate Optic White Renewal.
Hi, Nat. It's
happening now.
A family left fearing for the worst after a man was put on a ventilator due to COVID-19. And now that man's wife says that they are hopeful he will come home. I'm Devin Clark, and coming up, we'll tell you about the experimental treatment she says led to his ongoing recovery.
When should the U.S. reopen the economy? President Trump has one date in mind, but not everyone's on board.
What the top health officials are recommending and the tension that's creating.
It's a tough environment now for a lot of small businesses. Coming up, we'll look at how this bakery is changing things up to make it through.
And it's actually feeling kind of fall-like out there today with this cooler weather in place. Get ready for a bit of a chill tonight. We'll talk about that and much more coming right up.
Heroes helping heroes. What one local group is doing to keep the first responders healthy and safe.
The news at 5 starts right now.
First at 5, the numbers across the board are growing, some continuing to go in the wrong direction across Bexar County.
From confirmed cases to deaths and recoveries. Right now, there are more than 130 survivors of COVID-19 in the county. That's about 17% of all the cases, which currently sits at more than 770. 27 people have died in Bexar County. More than 600 cases remain active.
A look at the bigger picture. There are more than 13,000 positive COVID cases in Texas. That's roughly out of 133,000 tests that have been given. More than 280 people have now died of the virus, and more than 2,200 patients have recovered. The city of San Antonio making an effort to raise awareness on slowing the spread of COVID-19 in some of the city's most vulnerable areas. Members of the Community Health and Prevention team have been handing out flyers to essential business owners on the east side about keeping themselves, their employees, and their customers safe. Some of the practices they're recommending, of course, wearing gloves and masks and washing hands.
They've been very receptive. First, they come in and they see the badges and they think we're going to shut them down, and we're going to be the ones that are going to be reporting them. But we just want to do a wellness check and provide that communication and provide that education. Please.
So far, they've handed out more than 5,000 flyers throughout 6 East Side zip codes where the majority of the population is considered high risk.
Slowly, strategically, smartly, and safely. That's how Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he's going to go about reopening businesses across the state. This morning, the governor said the primary goal for Texas is to ensure we are doing everything we can to reduce the spread of COVID-19 and make sure we have adequate testing and resources for all Texans and their businesses. As part of that effort, the governor announcing a paycheck protection program that secures $50 million in partially forgivable or fully forgivable loans for small business owners.
This is not going to be a rush the gates. Everybody is able to suddenly reopen all at once. We have to understand that we must reopen in a way in which we are able to stimulate the economy while at the very same time ensuring that we contain the spread of COVID-19.
The Paycheck Protection Program, funded through the CARES Act, will be made available through Lyft Funds and Goldman Sachs. Tonight at 6, Jesse DeGriato speaks with 2 local small business owners about their reaction to these latest moves.
The White House, meantime, making one thing crystal clear. Some areas around the country should reopen soon. President Trump hoping to return to business in the month of May. But health officials want to wait to see if more hotspots flare up. Karen Caifa explains from Washington. Karen?
Well, Ursula, we got some good news from some of the nation's hotspots over the last few days. Places like New York, Detroit, and New Orleans, with cases starting to level off. And that has a lot of people asking, when can these places return to some semblance of normalcy? Well, federal health officials and also experts at the state level say don't rush it. Right now isn't the time to let up.
For the first time in history, all 50 states are under a federal disaster declaration as the global coronavirus pandemic hits home across the country. But relief is on the way for some, as the IRS posts on Twitter that the first wave of stimulus checks deposit Monday. Over overnight storms ravaging parts of the South cause more problems, forcing some in Mississippi into shelters where social distancing continues. But in Kentucky, a church held Easter Sunday services defying stay-at-home orders.
We just believe that this is a giant overreaction by the state.
Was that the meeting we had yesterday?
Meanwhile, tensions about the overall federal response.
Obviously, if we had right from the very beginning shut everything down, it may have been a little bit different, but there was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then.
Then President Trump retweets a post with hashtag Fire Fauci as health experts and the president tried to come to an agreement on when it might be best to reopen the economy.
The things that need to happen for the reopening is what's happening with the numbers of new cases. We've got to substantially augment our public health capacity to do early case identification, isolation, and contact tracing.
And President Trump is at the podium at the briefing room in the White House right now answering some of these questions. We know he has expressed a desire to get things back up and running during the month of May, at least in some portions of the country. But governors are saying they'll know their states best. And even in some cases, Ursula, we're seeing regions start to get together. Today, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said he will be partnering with 6 other state governors, 6 other states to coordinate a reopening for the Northeast region of the country. Governor Gavin Newsom of California says he'll partner with the governors of Washington State and Oregon to do something similar, Ursula.
Very interesting. Thank you, Karen. Some of the first stimulus payments, though, that massive relief package passed by Congress have gone out to Americans. Do we know who got them first? And if you're still waiting, how much longer might it take for you to get the money?
Yeah, that was very good news for a lot of Americans to hear from the Treasury Department, Ursula, that if you filed your tax return for 2019 or 2018 and authorized direct deposit, your stimulus payment could arrive as early as this week. Those will be the first folks to get those payments. And the Treasury Department says if you have not yet filed your tax return for 2019 or 2018, you should do that and make sure that they can direct deposit funds to your account so they can get that to you just a little bit quicker. As for those who are anticipating a paper check for whatever need, the Treasury Department says those will start going out the week of May 4th. And so they're doing it based on someone's income as reported in their tax return. So the lower income folks, the ones most in need, will be getting those checks first during the week of May 4th. So over the next month or so, a lot for Americans to look forward to there if they are eligible, Ursula.
And that will be quite a relief. Thank you, Karen Kay, for reporting in Washington.
And back here at home, one family that feared for the worst is now hopeful that a man put on a ventilator due to COVID-19 will actually recover. That man is the first person to receive a plasma donation with COVID-19 antibodies as part of an experimental treatment right here in San Antonio. As Devin Clark shows us, it seems to be working.
In sickness and in health are marriage vows that came into play for Ashley and Jimmy Hayden.
He was continuing to run fevers. They started getting higher.
Fevers continued for about a week before Ashley took Jimmy to the hospital where he was diagnosed with COVID-19 and almost immediately put on a ventilator, an ordeal he had to undergo alone.
It was very emotional, very heartbreaking that I could not be there with him. By his side to help him through this.
After almost 26 years of marriage, Ashley was forced to face the possibility of losing her high school sweetheart to the new disease.
So we tried medications and tried other things, and his prognosis kind of seemed to flatline.
But then some hope. A doctor told Ashley about an experimental treatment that involved giving her husband plasma with COVID-19 antibodies taken from at least one former patient. The transfusion happened last Thursday.
He received the first dose of plasma that was donated in San Antonio.
Ashley says within a day or two, Jimmy showed improvement and was even able to FaceTime with family. She hopes their story inspires those who recovered from the new coronavirus to try and help those who are still sick.
If you know you've had the positive result and can donate this plasma, it's so important for all these other sick patients.
And if all goes as planned, Hayden says she expects for her husband to be taken off of that ventilator tomorrow. He still will have to undergo rehab. To find out how to donate plasma, just visit KSAT.com. Devin Clark, KSAT 12 News.
Now, if you've ventured out to work or maybe to the grocery store, one thing you cannot miss all over town is all the construction that's underway. That's because things like housing projects and road repairs are considered essential. And the city says right now some of the construction you see is more crucial than ever.
As people are unemployed and working less hours, their incomes are less, so it's essential that we continue to build this type of housing so these people have a place to stay today and in the future when we get out of this crisis.
Sanchez says right now more people are utilizing streets and sidewalks for walking, jogging, and biking. So many sidewalks and streets are being created, and those repairs are important.
A Curious Minds Inquire. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg hosting a digital town hall this morning for some of San Antonio's most curious and concerned citizens, kids. Last week, dozens of kids submitted their questions in writing and through videos posted online. This morning, the mayor and Justice Luz Chapa helped put their minds at ease with answers. Here's a look at one of those questions.
Hi, Mayor. After this coronavirus pandemic, how are we as the city of San Antonio going to prepare for another pandemic like this?
That's a great question, Robert. Pandemics only occur every 100 years on average. At least that's what the conventional wisdom is. But what we have to do is continue to be working with our partners around the world to understand these diseases and be prepared with testing so that more people can get tested faster. And that also we prepare our communities for the things that we're seeing, like the shortages or the grocery stores, and have rules prepared for those just in case that we need to use them.
And don't forget about the mayor's nightly news conference. You can watch it every night at 6:13 right here on KSAT 12.
A local cleaning company is keeping first responders protected against COVID-19. The company, called EnviroMaster, uses hospital-grade cleaner to disinfect and decontaminate offices and other spaces. Well, today the hygiene heroes were out at Hollywood Park. They sprayed down the fire and police stations there, as well as City Hall, to kill COVID-19 and any other lingering viruses.
This is what we signed up for. This is our job. We're there to help the public. With that said, we need to do it as safely as possible, and we need to protect our employees. If our first responders get infected or get ill and have to go home, then there's no one to help the public.
The chief says they've implemented other practices to stay safe. They are wearing N95 masks, and they are wearing infection control suits to treat patients who may have COVID-19. They've also reduced the number of people who respond to EMS calls down from 5 to 2.
Let's take a look at live cam right now. Less than 70 degrees. This has been a refreshing day.
Yeah, it's almost fall-like out there, isn't it? It feels like fall here in South Texas. And this pattern is going to persist for a couple of days. Earlier this morning, we were 46 degrees here in San Antonio, and parts of the hill country had lows down in the 30s, above freezing, but in the 30s. Right now, Warren's backyard in Del Rio, 71. Rock Springs at 65. You get to Schertz at 69. And for the most part, 60s to right around 70 degrees. And as we go through the evening, temperatures are going to fall off quickly. I mean, by 10 p.m., 56, midnight at 52. Get ready for some cool mornings. We're going to talk more about this and our next chance of rain coming up.
Thank you, Adam. It's a small bakery on the city's south side fighting to stay afloat, like so many other businesses across the city and the state. Next at 5, we're going to check in with Lux Bakery about how they're coping amid the COVID-19 pandemic and what's in store for their future. From restaurants to hair salons, small businesses have been hit hard in recent weeks, especially those that have had to close their doors. But even so-called essential businesses are still open. They're not untouched, though. 12
on your side's Marilyn Moritz revisits a half-century-old family bakery, and it is making adjustments to get through these tough times.
When we visited Luxe Bakery in January, the factory was on full throttle, churning out dinner rolls, gingerbread, and Mexican pastries. Less than 3 months later, the pandemic has taken a bite out of business.
Our business has pretty much slowed down since we distribute a lot to school districts throughout the state of Texas.
With classrooms closed, Vice President John Zambrano says new orders are halted and sales to grocery bakeries have taken a hit. So production has slowed and days are shorter.
I think I'll start getting nervous right around June or July if it looks like kids aren't going to be going back to school.
For now, they adjust. Employees in masks and gloves stand spaced apart.
We're implementing now the temperature reading for our employees as they come in the door.
They're having to be a little inventive, doing things differently, like co-packing. They're offering to put other businesses' products into packages. As many small businesses have had to stop operations and payroll, Zambrano says the bakery is fortunate, and he's hopeful things get back to normal soon. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
I was laughing at him. I walked outside this morning and then I walked right back in to get a sweater.
Yeah, right. And I was actually FaceTiming with my brother earlier today, and I stepped outside and he's like, "Oh, it looks hot down there." I was like, No. Granted, it was snowing in his location, but no, not hot at all. All right, so let's talk about this whole fall-like weather pattern that we have. Starting with the look outside, you have the bright blue sky, looks warm, only 69 degrees. So that's our high temperature for the day, and that's 11 degrees below average. Even our morning low was 11 degrees below average this morning at 46. So our dew point's at 41. Now that north wind really swept away all the humidity. I mean, look at the dew points right now, right around 40 degrees. So a big lack of mugginess in our air right now. And it's going to be this way all the way till about Thursday when we see a little resurgence of humidity. Temperatures right now, 70 in Devine, comfortable 66 in Bulverde. I mean, if the oak and mold allergens don't bother you, open the windows, let the fresh air circulate. Stinson at 68 and Bernie Stage Airfield now 63. We're in the 70s, low to mid 70s farther west and southwest of town. Del Rio 73 along with Carrizo Springs. Now look what happens later tonight and first thing tomorrow morning. Temperatures are going to fall off pretty quickly, and we're anticipating some upper 30s in parts of the hill country. So this is 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, which is usually when we hit our morning low temperature. Fredericksburg 38, Junction 39. About 46 here in San Antonio, and right near 50, Pleasanton and Cotulla. So unseasonably cool air in place for this time of year. All right, so clear sky overhead right now. That's going to change by tomorrow morning. We'll have some clouds, but here's the big picture across the state. You're not seeing things, okay? Your TV is operating just fine. That blue you see in the northern panhandle, yeah, that's snow falling. Amarillo actually has some snow falling there right now. So they're seeing 1 to 2 inches in general, some localized amounts, even higher than that potentially through tonight and into tomorrow morning. How's that for a mid-April? Amarillo right at the freezing point. You head into Guyman, Oklahoma, it's 34 degrees. You get to Lubbock, it's 50. So quite a difference there just from Amarillo to Lubbock, and the rest of the state for the most part in the 60s, and we're even down well into the 70s down to the south. Laredo 79 and Brownsville at 75. So talk about a difference from snow in Amarillo at 32 to sunny and near 80 in Laredo. All right, let's talk about what's going to happen then. I mentioned tomorrow's going to be a cool start to the day at 46. So long sleeves, maybe a light jacket in the morning. Mostly cloudy for the first half of the day. By the afternoon, we'll see some sunshine, but only 66 the high temperature. Our average is now up to 80, and we're going to be 66 tomorrow with a little extra cloud cover. Then we get into Wednesday, closer to 70 degrees, a lot of sunshine. Those mornings, though, still down in the 40s all the way through Thursday morning. And we start to see temperatures rebound as we get by Friday into the weekend, mid 70s at that point. We could even be into the mid 80s, but not until Sunday. Yeah, the end of the weekend is when we really see temperatures back into the 80s. As for rain chances, not looking all that good, not all that promising. A stray shower or two Friday and Saturday, and maybe an early morning storm on Sunday.
Quite a difference.
Yeah.
Does not feel like spring or summer, but that's okay because it doesn't feel like spring or summer in sports either.
Well, there's nothing going on, but just like the economy getting ready to perhaps open up so are sports leagues.
Well, the NBA would be the first in this particular case. We believe that's the case. They do have a startup plan in place. When we come back, we'll let you know what that is. And then a NASCAR driver suspended indefinitely for what he said during a virtual race coming up. As the NBA begins its second month of its shutdown of all games due to the coronavirus, a plan to restart the season is out there if and when Commissioner Adam Silver decides it's time for the league to resume play. It's a 25-day program that's been discussed by team executives and medical personnel, according to ESPN, to get players ready to resume the season. It would include an 11-day stretch of individual workouts while maintaining social distancing. And then once 5-on-5 workouts would be allowed, players would need another 2 weeks of training camp to prepare for the resumption of the season. It's still unclear if the NBA resumes play, if it would be with the regular season games or straight to the playoffs, but no decision will be made before May 1st. Our San Antonio Spurs are supposed to stage their final road game of the regular season tonight in Indianapolis before wrapping up the regular season Wednesday at home against the New Orleans Pelicans. And all 19 games have been wiped out with the silver and black due to the coronavirus. And if the season does resume with the playoffs, only then the Spurs season would be over. The playoffs are set to start this week, but now the earliest we could see any action would be next month. Former Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks quarterback Tavares Jackson has died as a result of a single-car auto accident in Alabama last night. He was just 36. That's according to Tennessee state officials, where Jackson was a quarterback's coach last season. During his 10-year NFL career, he suited up for the Minnesota Vikings, where he led the Vikings to the NFC North title in 2008, 2 stints with the Seattle Seahawks, including Russell Wilson's backup when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl in 2013.
I can see it. You can't hear me? Hey. Whoa. Kyle, you're talking to everyone, but. Yeah, we heard that. Yeah.
Kyle Larson's been suspended indefinitely by NASCAR and Chip Ganassi Racing after using a racial slur during a live stream of NASCAR's latest virtual race. Larson had lost communication with his virtual spotter when he used the word. Here is a statement released by NASCAR this afternoon. NASCAR has made diversity and inclusion a priority, will not tolerate the type of language used by Kyle Larson during Sunday's racing iRacing event. Our member conduct guidelines are clear in this regard, and we will enforce these guidelines to maintain an inclusive environment for our entire industry and fan base. And coming up at 6 o'clock, how the NFL now proposes to broadcast the NFL draft, which is going forward, not with any concern right now, but again, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, what all these alterations they're making to get that on the air coming up at 6 o'clock.
How they will do a virtual draft.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll tell you.
Thanks, Greg.
We'll be right back.
All right, get ready for some unseasonably cool mornings. I mean, we're talking mid-40s all the way through the middle part of the week, and even upper 40s by Thursday morning. As for afternoon highs, they'll be running below average as well. 66 tomorrow, then a sunny 71 as you get into Wednesday. Slight rain chances. I mean, we're talking maybe an isolated shower Friday and Saturday, and maybe a storm early Sunday.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you for watching the News at 5 with us.
World News up next. We'll see you back here at 6.